Well, good evening. My goodness. Good to see everybody. Wabbit, Eric, Tau Sophie, Craig, let's see. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Scroll, zing you all backwards too. It looks like everybody. Okay. Yeah. Thank you all for coming tonight. Indulging me in my musical mayhem here in the disaster room. Let's switch a couple things around here. And so I know what's going on. I'm going to push the buttons, all the buttons that are fit to push, and do that. And I'll talk to you. Hi. Welcome, everybody. A few things to talk. I'm going to try and keep tonight's stream a little bit short. We've been running pretty long the last few weeks, and I'd like to keep this one a little shorter if possible, but I do have a few things I want to talk about tonight. Let's see. Let me get my notes here, such as they are. I'm not prepared entirely. Let's see. Click on that and find. Yeah, that was the place, and that. And well, okay. I know a couple things I wanted to talk about tonight. One, for those who don't know, and I see this sort of as a side or a side topic of this going on. But for those who don't know, Superbooth dates have been announced, and so that's coming up, and it is my intent, anyway, to try and go this year, or next year. Actually, it's in May. So that's coming up, yeah. And but so is anybody in the chat going? I know that he's not in the chat, or I don't see him yet. I know Luke is trying to go. I'm 8th through 10th. Wabbit would like to go. Let's see. Oh, cool. So I'd like to try and go. But here's the thing. It's so I've got my passport. That's good. My passport's good for another few years. So I'm good on that. I have to look into what the visa situation is, if any. I don't know about that. What I also don't know is, I need to. I started to look at pricing, and it's actually less money to go than I thought that it would be. It looks to me like the trip would cost me, if I make all the reservations and everything now anyway, it looks like the trip would probably cost $3,000 or so dollars, which is not an insignificant amount of money, but it's also less money than I thought that it would be. I don't know what you're doing later this. Well, that's also, excuse me, also a question. I never know what's going on. But this is the kind of thing where, if I'm going to do a trip, sorry about that, guys. Don't want to hack and wheeze in your ear. So, Wabbit, you bring up a point. It's less than a Polybrute 12 not by a lot. And so therein lies, my question about Superbooth. It's a costly trip as far as that goes. It is the price of a price or more, less than some big synths, more than other big synths, but it's kind of a big synth or super booth, kind of deal. The question is, do I need a Polybrute 12 or a Moog Muse or any of the other number of expensive synths? And so what becomes more important? Adding another synth to the pile, but Wabbit, you bring up, and I'm pointing at my monitor where I have my chat up. You bring up the important point: is what's more important, another synth on the pile when I've got stuff to make almost any sound that I want at this point, or the experience of flying off to Germany? And with the way that I'm looking at doing the flights, for the way the flights work out and time out, my thought is that I will fly through Iceland on Iceland Air, and spend a day or two in Iceland on my way to Germany. And that's it may add to the cost of the trip, because I'm adding 2 or 3 days in time. But if things time out well, I have a good friend who's traveling. He may be in Iceland, and we may be able to, at the same time, we may be able to share some costs for at least a couple days that I'm there, and if he's there. So that I have to talk to him about soon. But the idea of being able to hit 2 places on my bucket list in one trip for a reasonable amount of money, it's really, and I've been wanting to go to Superbooth for a couple of years now. And let's see, got Hydrosynth Explorer. So the Poly Aftertouch is wonderful, isn't it? My Poly Aftertouch is in the Control S keyboard. That's where I get my Poly Aftertouch fix. And the nice thing about that is I can then use it on anything. But so I'm waffling on that choice. And one of the reasons that I did not go to NobCon this year was to not have that expense stacked up, and then not and have that affect my ability to go to Superbooth. So we'll see, but get a synth there. So Eric, the idea of flying from the United States through Iceland to Germany, buying a synth, and then trying to bring it back would be a nightmare. I would, my thought would be, if I were to do that and found a synth there that I wanted, something that I wanted, I come back here and order it afterwards, because that's just Iceland is green and Greenland is icy. Yeah, and so that's an interesting thing, because actually I was looking into those places, and there are at least portions of the year where Greenland is beautiful and not icy. I think that's kind of a myth to some extent, but because I also know that Iceland can get pretty darned icy during the winter times. But anyway, one of the places that's on my bucket list is Iceland, even if only for a day. The deal there is that I know that my wife also wants to go to Iceland. So I don't know if she would come with me or not. I don't know if she wants. I know she doesn't really want to go hang out at Superbooth for 2 or 3 days. But she might want to go to Germany, and I've got friends who travel to Germany regularly. If they're going around the same, I mean, they're like there every couple months. They're in Germany, and so that might, one of those kind of things. If things time out, it could be really kind of cool to, really kind of cool to be able to meet up with friends in various parts of the world, while also enjoying my my synth time. So anyway, that's the Superbooth thing. And it gets down to the question of what is more important, experiences or things. And, that really gets to be my question. And then, of course, the whole thing is, will I be able to afford it? And at any rate, so there's always that. Let's see what's going on. I noticed a conversation in the chat about concerns about people getting burgled, and I'm scrolling back, which you all are seeing me scroll back to try and find that thing. This has been moving along. Let's see. It's taken all the advice from other synth live streams regarding gear security, online privacy, considering recent unfortunate events with a regular contributor. So, Tal, fill us in. Can you share any more detail on that? Because that is definitely a concern. Especially if I'm, going to think about traveling for a few days or a week. Although, my neighborhood is generally good. We have several friends who, when we are away, come to the house and check on things, feed the birds, all that kind of stuff. So, our house is regularly watched by folks in the neighborhood and folks who come in to take care of stuff for us. So, there is regular traffic here. And although I don't know how much this actually helps, there are police there are police officers who live in the neighborhood, and they're roaming around a lot. I don't think they play the synths when they're feeding the birds. I think the one who does it the most just hangs out in the dining room with the birds and sits and reads. Ranzi and ProSynth Network Live was burgled, and irreplaceable rare stuff as well. Wow, that's pretty sad. I missed that. I didn't see that. There are so many channels and so many streams to watch that if I were to keep up with everything, I wouldn't get any music made. So that's, and I'm guessing that's a $15,000 loss that you're saying. Yeah, 15K. Yeah. I look at this and add this up here, what's in the room. You don't necessarily see everything in the room. And, a loss of the stuff in this room would be painful. I have nothing that's irreplaceable, though, except for I have nothing that's irreplaceable in the studio. With two exceptions. There are two items in the studio, non-musical, that are irreplaceable, and a few books that no one's going to steal books, so not worried about them. The lips, yes, yeah, the lips. I'm sure I could find it. The lava lamp. My lava lamp is fairly old. It's not a 60s lava lamp, but it's quite a few years old. So that would, but I can get another lava lamp. That's not a huge deal there. Now there's a couple of books that are irreplaceable, and there are a couple of other things that are irreplaceable. But that's the kind of thing that I want to have them out where I can see them. In order to keep them safe anywhere in the house, I'd have to lock them away. I'm irreplaceable, sure, and so is my wife. But if we're away, we're not going to get stolen. So that's that's a little one less concern. You know, with that said, it's, you know, nothing to say that someone wouldn't break into the house while we're here. But as I said, our neighborhood is very good. Need the specs on the light globe. Oh, yeah, sure. I've shared that before, but it was a $15.99 thing at Walmart. I saw a better version of it at Target yesterday. This one does, the one here, whatever side, I always get turned around. There, that one does not have a remote control. The one that I saw at Target has a remote control, and I think it was $15.99. Yeah, I will endeavor to get a link to it both at Walmart and the other one I saw at Target, and stick it in the show notes when I do the update after the show tonight or tomorrow morning. So I'll get that for you. But there's a number of them, and there's a number of them out there. This one, you know, the story behind it was kind of a joke. A bunch of us were, well, we all have there's a whole bunch of us in the Synth Seeker group that, you know, we got swirly lights because Synchrotron had one, and so and then Luke had one, and so we've all started getting them, and I think Jeff Hopkins has one, and you know, so the next trick is to see how far we can outdo each other with the light shows, I think, just for the fun of that, and you know, the trick is to do it without spending a lot of money. I also have, as you can see above my head, the light changing. There's kind of strapped to the side of the playpen desk. There's a cheap DMX stage light that cost me all of $12 on Amazon, doing some color changing stuff, and I've got another one sitting back here on the floor that hasn't been set up yet. There's still stuff to do here in the disaster room the disaster room for the to finish out those kind of things. Goal for Berlin. Find a good light, or a cool light. Like I said, I don't even have to go to Berlin. Oh, stop it. To do that, go away. Stop that thing. All right, I'm going to dump the. Oh, yeah, you're seeing it too. Let's see. Go away. Come on. Sometimes I hate YouTube. Let me take that out for the minute while I fix it. I shouldn't have touched it. Cannot get that to go away. Really? Well, let's do this. All right, now I don't know what it's. There we go. All right, now we can put it back in. Joy of technology. So let's see. Did anything? So yeah. So like I said, I'll get you the thing on the lights. I've got some other cool ones that I haven't brought in here because they're too big. But from leftover from band stuff and stage stuff, I still have a few lights laying around that I can use in here. So I'm going to jump back now. For the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about, well, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, I did do we need another Wavetable synth? And, in light of Waldorf coming out with the microwave VST. And subsequently, we discussed last week that there are others that I missed, and one that I didn't talk about last week. That's really, if you want that sound, if you want the microwave sound, which was based on PPG wave sounds, if you want that, then and you want that specific sound in a Wavetable VST. we discussed already that Waldorf has at least 2 others that already do that. They do exactly what the microwave VST does for the same price. And I later discovered that for like $80, so half the price, or just over half the price of the new microwave VST or their PPG3 VST, or whatever the other one was that I can't remember at this point, you can get this bundle for $80 that's got their PPG 2.3 plug-in, an effect, and I think a drum machine groove box plug-in for $80. And it does everything that you could do in the microwave plugin. So it refreshes the question, do we need another Wavetable synth? Hot on the heels of that this week, one of the workstation type VST wave synths that I forgot to mention was Synthmaster. So Synthmaster 1 came out a long time ago. Synthmaster 2 has been out for a while. This past week, they released, KV331 released Synthmaster 3. And, so yet another Wavetable synth is on the market. And so I decided, well, I'll download the demo, I'll try it, and see what it's like. And, it's another workstation variety, Wavetable synth. Yeah, they got Synthmaster 1 and 2 on the iPad. They do say that Synthmaster 3 will be out for the iPad by Superbooth. That's one thing that they did say. But I played with it for a few hours, and I found the interface to be clunky and crowded, and it didn't do anything that all the rest of them do, really. And it's the kind of thing that if I'm going to invest in, I'm not going to invest in yet another one myself. I've already got Vital, and I've got Pigments, and I've got Hive too. So, but I try that one out so you guys don't have to. And the thing is, this all, Wavetable VSTs have been out for over 20 years now. The groundbreaking one way back was Absinthe, which Native Instruments finally dropped from the lineup last year. Excuse me. And so it's like, I think my opinion, and I could be way off base, but my opinion is that Wavetable VSTs are done to death. We just don't need any more, and I'm sure there's a whole battalion of them that I have still missed in trying to see what all's out there. The Micro Freak has now in version 5 of the firmware. There's some Wavetable goodness in there, and you can add your own waves to it. It's like it's a little. The one of them, I haven't fired the Micro Freak up in a while, and I really should. I didn't get on super well with the Wavetable function in it, but I still love that synth. I just haven't played with it recently. It hasn't come up. It's over there near the lips. It's kind of sitting beside the Cobalt aspect there. I need to get I need to do one more rearrangement here in the room, which I'm not looking forward to, but I got we went out to IKEA yesterday, and because we wanted to look at some chairs and we wanted to look at a sideboard, so we got that. And while I was there, I went ahead and picked up what's going to be the new table for the the new long table here, and so at some point in the next few weeks, I'll tear the place apart again and put it all back together. And that'll give more room over, by the time that's done, the table that's here now. This table along here is the one that needs to get lengthened. My original plan was to get two new tables, one for here and one for there. And what I'll just do is take this one and spin it around to the side, and so I'll have the new long one along here, and then this one will be over there. So that'll save a few bucks. And you know, the IKEA drawers. No, I didn't get the IKEA drawers. We got a new sideboard for the dining room, the table is I want everything underneath to be wide open. So it's just a flat tabletop with 4 adjustable legs, or 5 adjustable legs. There's long enough span that I want one in the middle. So so that'll be coming out, or coming in the next few weeks. I just got all this put together. I dread taking it all apart again, because pretty much everything is going to have to come out of the room to make room for all this to happen. So that's the way that goes. So that's that. Let's see. We talked about that. We talked about that again. I don't think, as Eric says, overdone on the wavetable thing. I think the discussion of it's probably overdone for now, unless something earth-shattering happens in the VST wavetable world. I'm probably not going to come back to that for a while, except to do some stuff using the ones that I have. One of the things, I've been using the free version of Vital for several years now. I know that development has slowed greatly on it, but I think I'm still going to go ahead and buy the license, and give some support, because it's been a great synth to work with for as long as I've been using it anyway, and so would like to support him on that, and maybe hopefully in some small way that'll spur him to more development. So that's that. Let's see. Seems like a lot of regurgitation. Yes, what's out there that needs to be done in the synth space? Well, so and these are things that exist, but there's what I would like to see is more soft synths that explore different forms of synthesis. Wavetable, as we said, is done to death. Samplers done to death. Virtual analog done to death. FM done to death. So we start getting into things like spectral synthesis, and I know there's a couple spectral synths out there, but things like spectral, phase distortion, and various other kinds of additive synthesis. I would like to see some West Coast style VSTs. There are not a lot of VSTs that have wave folders. And there are a few. There is one down the effects chain in Vital. I would like to see wave folding as part of the oscillators in a soft synth. And like I said, I know there are some out there. I think the stuff that Dawson is doing a great job of pushing the envelope on what you can do in software. And so some of those are really, really interesting in the way they work. But They are also, at least some of them are sample-based synths. We're just mangling samples in a different way that he refers to as resynthesis, but it's still a sample or wavetable or waveform based synthesizer. So and there are, but there are, you know, any kind of, to me, any other new synthesis method is fair game for a VST. You know, at this point in my life, I can't program my way out of a paper bag. But you know, if I were still programming, or if I were any good at it, you know, I might try coming up with some unique ways to make waveforms. You know, and so those. That's just some of the kind of things I can think of. The other thing that I like, and this kind of segment does a nice job of segueing into the next thing I want to talk about. One of the things that I like is, as I've said, I like things that morph. I like things that, you know, you can move smoothly from one thing to the next, with a combination happening during that transition, where you could stop and play for a while. It's one thing I love about the Polybrute. You know, when in the Polybrute, you know, it's got this. Shoot, you can't quite see. Let me spin the camera a little bit. PTZ Action Wabbit. Here we go. Come on, go. There we go. Here you go, PTZ. Hey, welcome back, Craig. So, you know, with the Polybrute, and let me see what's making noise here. Let's get some of these other things out for a minute. Bring the wave state out. Wave state's cool. You know, that does some neat things that not much else does. So let's with this guy. And I don't have this on the greatest patch to do it, but let's see. When I turn this knob, the A to B knob, every knob that changes from one side of this preset to another gets turned. And so I've got a completely different patch on the B side. And I've got that morph on this morph A thing. It's kind of dark here, but if I go up, you know, go across at an angle like this, it does the same thing as the knob. If I go left to right, it changes just the levels, which is more subtle in this patch. And if I go up, it mangles the pitches. And I can go anywhere in between. And I just love that kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing that's the stuff that is different. It's out there, you know, and you know, so some people you're going to say, okay, you need the Polybrute 12. Yeah, I'd love to have a Polybrute 12. And that gets down to one of those decisions, you know. As far as VSTs that morph, I have not found one that morphs this way. So it's hey, welcome, Soul Searching. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. I don't think I've seen the chat before. Osaka. Oh, wow. Cool. Cool. So, yeah, a fun, or a comment on the Polybrute, on my Polybrute. I kind of had to be talked into buying this, and the deal is that my evil Sweetwater rep said, Garen, you got to buy this thing. It's on, I got a great price for you. You got to buy it. You got to buy it. And, for quite a while, I remained unconvinced. And I hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed. And I finally said, you know what, go ahead, send it over. And I'll tell you what, the Polybrute has been the most fun of any synthesizer I have ever owned or used in the last 45 years. Soul searching, that's 9:45 a.m. on Tuesday, right? You guys are a bunch of hours ahead of us. And join too many at 2 a.m. Yeah, or I'm up till 2 a.m. watching them. I hear that too. So there's so as far as VSTs that morph. So Wabbit, if you remember, the what was it? Universal Audio came out with that synth called Opal that they called a morphing synth, and that I tried out here on the channel a few months back. The video is the videos on the channel. All it does is crossfade between things. It morphs. You can morph a wavetable some, but that's nothing that you can't really do in any other wavetable synth. It's really kind of sort of how they work. So between that with Opal, between it not really doing what I really consider a morph, and the high processor load, and having to use iLok, which I despise. It's a personal problem, I know, and I know some of you all have used it and it works great for you. That's cool. I just don't like it. I've had a bad luck with it myself. So those three things, and it was like, why? I mean, it didn't sound bad. It's like the new Waldorf microwave. It doesn't sound bad, but why? And so. But so I'd like to see, and I don't understand. Again, I'm no longer a programmer. I stopped coding 30 some years ago. But I don't see why. I don't see why it would be hard to do that, to do a full morph in software. Even if it is, I mean, if you say, okay, we're going to do 16 parameters that you can morph, hey Tracy, good to see you. I mean, it's when you have a patch in software, everything is a table of values. And if you have two patches, that's two tables of values. Moving between two tables of values involves some mathematics, but the processors available to us today should be able to handle that math with no problem. And I would say more than 16 parameter sets shouldn't be an issue. And certainly there would be some restrictions. There's some restrictions on the Polybrute as to what you can do, and so there's going to be some restrictions, largely because the result would not be musical. But I don't see why this hasn't been done in software. And maybe it has and I've missed it. I don't know. Maybe it's something buried in something like Falcon, or maybe in I don't think it's in Vital, and I'm pretty sure it's not in Phase Plant. And these are, I haven't tried Falcon. I've tried Phase Plant. And as I said last week, I don't like to try and review or talk a whole lot about something that I haven't at least tried. And like I said, I have tried Phase Plant, and then Phase Plant is really nice, but I didn't like their. I can't remember why I didn't jump in on that. There was something I didn't like about it because I like most of their stuff. Current is another great synth that I didn't jump on for some reason. Probably because I just already have 3 that do most of whatever they do. Apple Silicon has silicon that the market isn't there for them. Well, so I'm looking at the. I don't need to touch that because I'll screw it up again. So I'm guessing, Wabbit, that you're saying Apple Silicon that could handle that processing. A mid-level Ryzen or a mid-level Intel chip could do that kind of work too. It's not that kind of data. I mean, that's spreadsheet stuff essentially, which modern processors can do without even blinking. So it's not a huge deal to put that on top of the rest of the processing. Now, I don't know what the rest of the processing would do as far as audio, audio manipulation would be involved. But I'd love to see somebody try it. I think that would be. I'd buy it if it was even halfway decent. Probably, maybe. I don't know. Depends on how much it cost. But we'll see. Last week we talked about the new version of Komplete from Native Instruments coming out. I did decide. I don't know if I mentioned or not. I did decide to go ahead and pre-order that. There's enough new stuff in it that makes the upgrade cost, I think, worthwhile. Enough stuff in it that I would be interested in anyway. I was disappointed that a few things didn't make it into the new version, but without having to spend a lot more money, and it's like, maybe next year, maybe in 2 years when they do version 16, they'll add those if I haven't bought them. So, and Craig, yeah, the $1,100 is just for somebody who's a brand new buyer who buys the very top tier. Okay, so that's if you buy the Ultimate Collection or whatever it's called. It's their very, very top tier, every gizmo available. If you're a new buyer on Standard, I think that's $5.99, and there's a middle tier or another tier between that and Ultimate that's some other number of dollars. If you are a current user of any version of Komplete, you can upgrade at a significantly reduced rate. For instance, I have what's called Standard, in order to go from any version of Standard to the new version is $199. And I think last week I went on the website and showed what all those prices were for all the different tier upgrades. There's a couple of caveats, of course. Like if you're currently on an upper tier, you have to stay at least that tier in your upgrade path. You can't upgrade to a lesser version, if that makes sense. So if you're in a situation where you're happy with most of what you have now, and you really just want the new version of Contact, as an example, you can upgrade that separately and just go to Contact 8. But I went and did the math. There's enough new stuff in it that I would like, that for me to pay $200 to upgrade is well worthwhile, because the cost of the individual things, even at a current user price, is higher than the cost of the upgrade. So for $200, I'll go ahead and upgrade to 15. The other thing that they're doing that they have not done before, I don't think, is if you upgrade in your lane, so to speak, like if I go ahead and upgrade my version of Standard, and a few months down the road I decide, I really would like to, really wish that I had gone and jumped up a tier as well. You can do that just for the difference in the upgrade price. So, and I can't remember what it was, but it's like, so I can get the one for $200 now, and I think like another $200 I can jump up a tier. So they're treating current users well, or right. And Native Instruments has most always done that, with a couple of exceptions. People are still really upset that Machina is not upgraded, and they're not happy with the Control S keyboard integration with Machina. I was initially kind of like, why aren't they doing this? But I see the two workflows are divergent, I think. And the people that use a machine controller and use the machine software is say hi to the wife, Eric, and yes, go have wife time. Important stuff. Family first. We will see you. Catch you around. I see that those workflows are enough different that I see that there's a different thing, and I don't know. I mean, I get why people are maybe upset that they can't use their Control S with Machine fully. Maybe that'll come later. Don't know, but I don't have any real inside tracks at Native. I've just been using their stuff for decades. So I just kind of see history. They do generally take care of everybody as best they can eventually. Some things, for whatever technical reasons, they just may not be able to get to rapidly. And again, not a coder, but I'm still waiting for a couple things that I think would be nice now to have added to the Control S, that would make it absolutely the perfect controller as far as I'm concerned. I think they did a far better job with this upgrade than Arturia did with the Mark III on the Keylab. But that's another discussion that I can't really do a lot of because I haven't had my fingers on the Keylab Mark III. I can just say on paper, I'm glad that I bought the Mark II. And I think I talked a little bit about that last week. Now, speaking of Arturia, and I'm going to do a couple things here. Let's see. There are some, and I put this in the show notes at the last minute. I've been watching I watch too much YouTube, but one thing I've seen is very recently a spate of videos where people are, I think, misunderstanding or have a misconception as to what Arturia's analog lab is really all about. And so if anybody who's watching or anybody sees this, I'm going to try and clear some of that up. if I can, in 5 minutes or less. So we'll start the timer. Let me pull the computer up on screen. We'll jump into Analog Lab, and I'll kind of explain what people are saying, or what I'm seeing people say, and where I think they've gone wrong. So bear with me for a sec while I punch the buttons. Let's see. That goes there. Okay, we can do that, and I'll press that, and I will take that out because it's illegible. And let's jump into, I'm going to take that full screen so I can see it. Hopefully I will not forget to switch back later. Okay, so let's jump into Analog Lab. I've got an Analog Lab. Let's stop everything. Stop. Okay, everything is stopped. Let's jump into Analog Lab here. And this is a bad one because it's got a Stepic on it. Get rid of that and push the button over there. So, now I have Analog Lab Pro, which is it's a step up from the one that comes with everything, but functionally it's really basically the same. There's really not a huge difference between Analog Lab regular free and Analog Lab Pro thing. So let's make this a little bigger. And doop. And I apologize for not having this set up in advance. This topic just came up today in my mind. So, it's not set up right. Let me jump back over here. I want that to play from there. I want to monitor that auto, that auto, that auto, that auto. That should do. Okay, so now if I put that in there, turn the volume up, will help. Okay, cool. And now we'll bring this back up. Okay, so what we've got is a fairly simplified interface on a synth. And I don't know which one this is off the top of my head. Doesn't really matter. But the idea is that these 9 knobs and these 9 faders here correspond to the 9 knobs and faders on my Keylab Mark II. And so I have control over all these macro functions in this preset. So I can play a note, and I can turn up I can affect whatever it is that's going on here. So I can affect these whatever they are. And maybe better if I start with a patch that I actually know what it is. But so we have that level of control. If I go in here and let's go home. Let's pick one to play with. Let's say I want to purposefully choose an instrument that I don't own the full version of to start with. So let's use the CS80, and we'll just grab the first patch. And so when I'm here, I have this interface. And so I have control over some timbre and some motion in time, some effects, a couple of envelopes. So I can say I want less delay. So I come over here. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going to bring the delay down. And I should check before I go too much further. What do I have? Yeah, I've got this cranked over to effects. So let me kill the effects sends in Ableton. So yeah, Tao, so what you're saying, yes, you have Analog Lab and V Collection. And in fact, Analog Lab is part of V Collection. And so what analog does, if I were to go and I want to edit this patch, you know, I come here to, what's it here? You have to kind of jump around. So I'm in this preset, and I can change these things. Filter, this is Timbre's Resonance. This has got a lot of aftertouch control. Bring up the chorus. You know, any of these 10 or 11 things that I can mess with, I can mess with. If I say that I want to edit the preset, I can edit the Analog Lab preset, which lets me monkey with these effects pedals, essentially. And I can change out this chorus. I can come in here and I can say I want it to be a flanger instead, or a phaser, or whatever I want it to be. And I bring up the phaser mix. Yeah. I got 2 phasers in here. Oh, cool. So it does whatever it does. But if I then want to go ahead and edit the patch on the CS80, when I go here and click open, it tells me I need to buy it if I want to edit that. Now, if you've got V collection, or if you already own a synth, so let's say I go to one, just got out of here, wrong way, go to Explore or Home. Let's say, for instance, I own, let's do one that's not too crazy to do with, I own Minibrute V. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this first preset there, and go here. And so this preset's really cool. There's always some reverb or delay. You can, I think, I don't know that, and so you say no matter what I do, I can't remove the reverb or delay, and the reason for that is that it's baked into the patch from the synth if it's got its own reverb and delay. So I can turn this thing down all I want here. If it's got that in the patch, like you can see, my delay is all the way down, my reverb is all the way down. Yet there's a lot of reverb on this. So I own Minibrute, so I can actually open Minibrute right here. You know, you come here. So here's the thing. I turn these guys off. Okay, turn their power off. Still there. So if I now go into Minibrute V, because I own this synth, because I've purchased this, I now have access to the full control panel. And so what a lot of people say that, you know, analog, you have to do either or. You have to do all of analog, you have to do Analog Lab or all of V collection. And that's really not true. So if you find yourself that there's only 2 or 3 in the whole collection that you actually want, just buy those 2. Still use them within Analog Lab, because that gets you nice layering effects and a nice simplified user interface, especially if you've already got a Keylab controller. You know, go ahead and you do that, and you know, just upgrade the ones that you want to use. So now we were talking about effects not being able to turn off. So we've got this reverb in this particular one, the effects tab, and most of them the effects button is right here. If there's built-in effects, you click on that. I say we click on that. Come on, okay, have me the effects. There we go. So now we can see I've got 4 effects here that are on top of the ones that are in Analog Lab. So I come in here. If I want that echo and reverb to go away, I can turn them off here. And now they're gone. And so, because let's say I wanted to use, you know, I wanted on this patch, I wanted to use something in that I have in Ableton, like I want to drop, I don't know, one of my favorites is, let's see. Well, you know, the good old standby. We drop just stick it in there. We drop supermassive on it, you know. You know, so you can do that. You can put it in line, or you can use your effects sends in within your DAW. You know, however your DAW works. And like I say, I obviously use Ableton. So, but anyway, that misconception that I wanted to clear up is it's not an all or nothing thing. You know, as a lot of people are saying, a lot of synth tubers who should know better are out there saying this is an all or nothing thing, and it's really not. You know, you don't have to spend another several $100s to buy the entire thing, and if you only want analog, if you only want the Minibrute V. And now some of you are probably thinking, why, Garen, you've got a Polybrute. Why did you buy Minibrute V? And there are reasons. There's some things you can do in this that you can't do in a Minibrute, an original Minibrute, that you can't do on a Polybrute. Every one of the brutes in this series brings one or two things to the table that you can't do on the others, which on the one hand, I mean, I think, well, the Polybrute should be able to do everything that any other brute can do. But on the other hand, it's you know, it makes each one unique. So that's, you never ask that question. Yeah. You ask all kinds of questions, Craig, and I'm sure you're thinking it even if you don't ask it out loud. So the other reason that I went ahead and bought Minibrute V is that I remember well when the original Minibrute came out, first came on the market, and going to look at it at the local music emporium and thinking this thing is really neat. And I think when it first came out, I think it was a whopping $250. And I went to the store where they had one, and they had it sitting on a pedestal kind of counter thing. It was like the only thing on this table. And there was a whole crowd of people, well, for the synth department, 8 people constitutes a crowd. So there were 8 or so people, sitting here peering at this thing, including a salesperson, and it was like nobody wanted to, it seemed like everyone was afraid to touch it. And I don't know if they didn't, I don't know what the deal was, but, you know, I just reached in and started playing with the thing. If no one else was going to play with it, I was going to play with it. And, you know, so I started, you know, making patches and whatnot, and, you know, making noises, and people were oohing and ahhing, and, you know, I did that for a few minutes, and I kind of stepped back and, you know, gestured, you know, someone else want to try this thing? No one seemed to want to play with it. So I played with it some more. But after the thing, you know, after everything was said and done, you know, one of the guys that was standing there watching said, you know, how did you know how to do that? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's you know, it's not. I didn't consider it rocket science, and it never dawned on me that, you know, of the pile of people hanging around in the synth department there, that no one would actually know how a synthesizer worked. Oh, sticky knobs. So that's a thing. That apparently is a Arturia issue. I don't think mine has any sticky knobs. Oh, that's plugged in. My Microfreak doesn't have any sticky knobs. Oh, so your Microbrute has sticky knobs. Yeah, I've heard that a lot of them do. So there's I saw on the interwebs somewhere, I can't remember if it was on a YouTube video or it was somewhere else, And I'm going to try this. I've got another controller that I don't really use, but it's got a really icky sticky mod wheel and pitch bender. But I am told that if you can get some 90 or 99% isopropyl alcohol, just wipe those controls and knobs real good with that, kind of wash them with it, and that will de-stick them or unstick them, make them so so they're not icky and sticky, at least for a while. And then the other option is I think the Microfreak uses pretty much the same knobs. I know the other controllers and things do. These knobs just pull off, and so it's a standard. Kind of hard to see here, but I've pulled one of the knobs off the type knob. I've pulled that off of the Microfreak. It's a standard depotentiometer shaft. So you can pull them off, and there's any number of places where you can buy knobs, and they'll just slide on there, or some of them might have a set screw. But it just pulls right off, and so all the knobs can be replaced that way. On almost anyone that has that. Yeah, my Microfreak. Oh, you say you're a Microfreak Microbrute. The octave switch has become unreliable. Well, it's a mechanical switch. I don't know how it. I don't know what the workings are. But the Microbrute is that's a neat little synth too. It's the kind of thing where, personally, with my background, I'd open the thing up and clean the switch or see what needed to be done to replace or repair it. But that's my background. I'm a trained technician, so to speak. So, that would make I have no qualms, especially something out of warranty. I have no qualms opening it up, taking it apart, and seeing what's going on in there. So that's. But that's me. I know different. Not everyone has that comfort level to do that, and I understand that. But anyway, I like I said, I wanted to kind of sort of, for anybody who might be confused, who might catch this later, because I'm pretty sure everyone in the room here understood what was going on. But with Analog Lab versus V Collection. Be fun. Yeah, it's there's. I'm trying to think how much on something like a Microbrute. I don't know. I don't know how it's built. I've not been inside one, but I can't imagine that there would be anything that would be dangerous to the synth to do that, to open it up. But again, I don't know how it's built. I haven't looked at one. I've never actually seen a Microbrute in person, just the Minibrute. But if it's built like any of the other Arturia stuff, there's a lot of screws, and some of them are probably hidden. But once you get past all the screws, it shouldn't be that hard to work on. Finding the screws and getting past them. I don't see it being that hard a thing to deal with. So that's so anyway. Hopefully that's reasonably clear what the differences are there, and so that's another. You're talking about upgrading, because at some point I think I do want to buy V Collection, and I'm just waiting for it to go on sale again. Arturia is also okay about doing upgrade cost kind of things. I don't think they're as I don't think they're quite as good as Native Instruments is in pricing all the time. Like I know that at this point, if I were to just go out and add the full V collection to my my setup, or my collection, so to speak, at this point, that's, let's see, it's regularly $5.99, and the current upgrade price is $4.99. So I get $100 off, despite the fact that you know, if you unload my, if I unroll my my plugins collection and go to Arturia, you know, I got a chunk. I've spent a chunk of money with Arturia. You know, I bought Mini Freak V, and I didn't have a Mini Freak, so I didn't get the discount on that. I bought Minibrute V. Now I got that on the intro sale, but I own all the augmenteds because they kind of do a pseudo morph, and some things morph, some things crossfade, but they do it really well. So I really like those. So when they came out with those as a bundle of all 6, I went ahead and bought that. So I've got a fair chunk of money tied up in Arturia, you know, between the Polybrute, the Keylab, bunch of plugins. I would have hoped they'd have given me more of a break on moving up to the full V collection, but they don't. It's like I said, it's like $400 as opposed to $500, or $500 as opposed to $400, 600, something like that. So what I'm waiting for is the next time they have the sale, because when they have the sale, that upgrade is $350. So that's and when that comes out again, that's on the list of something, because I would use enough of it, I think, to make. I did the math. You know, I went through and I said, well, I would buy this one and this one and this one and this one, and I'm at $600 buying more individuals. So at this point, I'll use the presets for now, and you know, it'll be worth it for me to upgrade later. So that would be that. What did I break here? Let's turn that back on. Let's get some music going again. Maybe. Those should start up in a moment. Or in 8 bars. Something like that. Maybe. Come on. They'll start in a minute. Okay. So there we go. Get some music up. And I said I wanted to try and keep it relatively short tonight. And yes, music. Yes, I'm going to come back to music for a while. I will shut my mouth, and we'll make some music again, and that'll probably and kind of wind on down. See what I broke here when I was messing around with Analog Lab, though. Because I don't remember what was in there. Let's see. I would venture to bet that if I know me, oops, wrong one, not there. I want that to be something that will work well with an arpeggiator. I'm sure I can find something here that will arpeggiate well in the CS80. Oh, that's another thing. You know, another CS80 emulator came out last week. There's now, what, 4 or 5 of those on the market. Everyone claiming to be better than the last. You know, it's just, it's kind of like the motion picture industry these days. It's like everyone seems to, they don't seem to be able to do anything original. We're just going to copy everybody else. So. Wow, $199. The best price that I saw on V Collection Towel was $350 for me. Now that was before I had bought a bunch of other stuff, so maybe the next time around I'll get a deal like that too. But if it's $350 or less. I'm buying. No two ways around it. I mean, I've been waiting to do it for a while, so it's the next one as far as I'm concerned. So why didn't I get any sound out of that? Oh, because its channel's muted. That's why. It's not really what I wanted. Let's find something. Yeah, that's not it. Oh, you get to listen to me plunk around at sounds and find something I like. I got too many sounds like that already in this mix. I don't want that. Yeah, not that. I just want something nice. It's not already a sequence. Let's see. Don't want a drone. I wonder what this does. Why does it seem like I've changed keys? That's kind of a weird patch. It's probably got something to do with the patch itself. I can't believe I can't find something in the CS80 that is floating my boat for this. Wow. I may have to rethink this whole thing. I don't know. No, it's too much like other stuff that's already in the mix. All right, let's look at something else here. Go back to home and... but CS80 was one of the ones that I would buy as an individual. OPX-A is one that I would buy. Those are already a couple $100 a piece. Profit VS would be one. You know, so I'm at six. I get to SQ80 because of my, you know, I'm an old Sonic fanboy. The CZ. So always, you can see really quick. It adds up to well over the cost of the individual, or of the whole package. So worthwhile for me, I think, to go ahead and buy that when it's available. What's this do? No, not that. Seymour. Like I said, I don't want something that's already a sequence. Well, this could be interesting. It's going to be layered. Won't work well for a sequence, though. I should have marked down what it was I already had in there. But, you know, too late for that. Doopy 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 doo. That'll work for now. That should start up here momentarily, and we'll get a level on that. Maybe. What's that sequence doing? Oh, it's way low. Oh, let's stop that sequence and see what Stepic will do for me. There we go. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need no stinking patch notes. So the thing was, I hadn't really like I said, I added the discussion on Analog Lab late, and so I didn't have an open track set up for it, and I just grabbed one that, you know, has been kind of sort of part of the thing. If I reload this Ableton Live project, what I had in there will come right back up. So Tal, that's there we go. You know, the CS80 expert prefers Arturias, and I saw 3 of them get. There was a shootout on 3 of them. The new one, which I can't remember who did the new one, but I think they've got. There's the Arturia. There's this new one, which is, they call it something 77, and it's kind of like a cross between a CS50, a CS60, and a CS80. And I guess to try and make it simplified, they only showed one bank of controls. You switch back and forth between them. I can't remember who did that. And yeah, Soul Search, and yeah, Stepic is so much fun. Cherry Audio has a version. The Cherry Audio one looks really nice, and the price is good. If I weren't so I was looking at Cherry Audio stuff the other day, and if I weren't heading down a path already and well along that path, you know, I would probably I would look really hard at a lot of the Cherry Audio stuff. It's really good. And Cherry Audio was the Tao was the other one that I was trying to think of. Their Oberheim SEM, which is free, the 2-voice is free, is excellent. They've got some other ones that really sound good. And as I said, if I hadn't decided to go down this Arturia path some time ago, and didn't have as much of an investment in the Arturia workflow as I do, I would seriously consider getting a lot of the Cherry Audio stuff. There's enough crossover though, and there's enough duplication though, that I don't think it makes sense for me to grab some from there and some from over here. I may give up something as part of that process, but it's certainly not going to be enough, I don't think, to make me unhappy. So I'm going to stay that course. I think that I've headed down. I just think it makes the most sense. I at one point had, I think far too many VSTs. I mean, this list that you know that I have now is already too many, I think. But you know, that's so I want to try and keep things tight, keep things a little more streamlined, so I don't end up in analysis paralysis while I'm trying to design a sound or trying to decide what synth becomes part of a song, because, you know, ultimately I need to start making, or want to start making, more music, and I want more of the streams, I think, to be devoted to music. And so I'd be interested to know how you all feel about that kind of thing. Is the last couple of weeks I've been trying to start out with music, do some talk, and then go back to music. I'm toying with the idea of maybe once a month it's the stream is all music. I do an hour concert once a month or something like that. And I know I'm not the first one to come up with to come up with the idea of doing a monthly concert on YouTube, but I think I'd like to start trying to work towards doing that. And so I'm curious as to what you as viewers think. I'm not necessarily saying, you know, what do you want on my channel? because but by the same token, I am interested to know what people are interested in, both from a standpoint of content development and just getting to know y'all better, and see what people are interested in, because I like to learn things, and there's so much stuff on the market at this point, and out there in the synth world, it's impossible to keep up with everything. And so I may learn, hey, there's a new thing out there that I want to check out. So Tal will tune in for pretty much anything I put on the channel, it sounds like. And that brings up another point. When I actually started this channel at the beginning of just before the beginning of the pandemic, the channel was really more of really going to be more geared towards photo and video tech, and not as much music. And so I'm also curious as to what people might think about a more diverse topic range on the channel, because I have other interests that I'd like to share. And so the question becomes, would it be better to keep one channel that has, music and photography and video, and I'm also into model building and model trains. So, yeah, so that would be, Craig, that's a great idea, and that's probably something that I would want to do. I do the show, do the concert, and then we have a chat after. I think that would be I think that would be a great way, a great way to do a webcast or a web stream. But as I said, I've got three distinctly different areas of interest that have all been part of my life for my whole life, or most of my life, and I'd like to share things about some of those other interests. So the question is, do I do 3 channels? With each with its own set of content? Do I mix them up? So that's something I'm looking for input on. You can comments below. It's kind of sometimes hard to go back through the stream to look at chat, although I do try to at least once to go back and see. I usually go through and review the entire web stream at least once after it's published, and in replay mode, to see what about stuff for the next couple of episodes. The algorithm gods. I think the algorithm gods are confused right now. YouTube did release. Or did make a bunch of changes in the last 2 to 3 weeks, in the way that they are, in the way that they're promoting videos, the way that the algorithm rates and ranks and suggests things. What was necessarily the truth 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago is not the truth now, and they do that constantly. They're constantly revamping the way things work, and I understand, and for good reason. I'm in no way slamming YouTube on this, because they're always trying to understand the viewers and the creators to some extent, and see how does YouTube push the right content to the right viewer, so that the right viewer views for longer periods of time and can therefore have more ads pushed at them. I mean, I'm blatantly, it's YouTube exists to make money. They make money from advertising, plain and simple. So for the folks who are not paying for YouTube, like me, I never see a commercial on YouTube because I pay for it. But for those who don't pay for YouTube Premium, they get commercials inserted. People who watch this stream in replay are going to get commercials, that if they're not premium members. So my goals, my goals currently are not monetization. At one point, I thought I might want to, push towards monetization. It's not really so much my goal anymore. Of course, part of the rollout of changes is they've made it easier to get monetized now. And so the thing with AdBlock Plus, which you have to pay for, it doesn't always work. I've used AdBlock Plus. I've used a bunch of different ones over the years, and eventually, the social platforms, YouTube being one of them, and in Google's world being one of them, figured out how to get around it. So you may not be seeing them now, Craig, but you will at some point. And so the question becomes: so here's the thing. I don't know how much you're paying for AdBlock. But okay, so you haven't paid for it. I had AdBlock. I had AdBlock for a while. I've done several of them, and eventually the commercials start showing up again. The socials figure it out and figured out how to obfuscate whatever it is that wakes up the ad blocker, whatever it ends up being, and so, I know how that technology works very well in broadcast, but and again, the folks who program the social media streams are smart, Craig. They will figure it out eventually because they need to make their money. And anything that takes away from them making money is something that will be overcome. Plain and simple. One way or another. And it's going to be an ongoing battle between the folks who write the ad blockers, AdBlock being one of them, and the providers. It's an ongoing battle. Like I said, I know exactly how it works in broadcast media and how they overcome them. But again, not a coder, so don't know what they're doing what magic they're doing. I just know that at some point, they'll figure it out, and the AdBlock folks will have to figure something else out. This has been going on for years, so nothing new. Yeah, your mileage may vary. Exactly. I know which way. I know what I've seen. And so here's the thing. Here's a question about that, or a thought about why it works better for some people than it does for others. It may have something to do with the amount of content you consume and the kinds of content you consume. And because everything is algorithmic. And so if the algorithm starts to learn one thing for the general populace, and you're outside of what it is that the algorithm knows as the norm, then that may not work for you. And that may be what I'm running into. I don't know. That said, although they have jacked up the price, I don't find the price to have YouTube Premium is not significantly more than any other streaming service that you have to pay for now. Well, and that's a possibility, but I watched some pretty. So. Actually, I can tell you, I know that that's not necessarily the case, Tal, because I got a buddy who's I used to be in a band with, and we had he had a computer in the studio, and we would use YouTube as reference tracks while we're learning a song. We'd say, well, how does this guy do it? And or there's lots of lessons on how to do different songs and stuff for covers. and he'd pull it up on his computer, and some number of seconds in, it would, or at the beginning of it, it would be interrupted by 4 ads. And while he's watching the ads, I'd pull the same thing up logged in on my iPad and not see any commercials for exactly the same content, or on exactly the same content. So I know the content is generating ad revenue, but I'm paying to not see it, because I've already paid the couple cents that they would make on the commercial. So, and like I said, I know that the way I do it now for YouTube, I'm not going to see any commercials. Yeah, I pay for it, but again, not significantly more than any other streaming service. So, anyway, after that tangent, there's I'm still curious, and so back to the different channels and whatnot. So let's see. Craig is suggesting one channel till I have a ton of subscribers. So the question then, Craig, becomes with three diverse topics. I get concerned about a risk of turning off some of the few subscribers that I have. So there's that whole that's why the question, or where I have the questions. I know some of you guys aren't going to give a rat's patootie about model trains. I just know it. And so if I devote some amount of time on my channel to model trains, are you guys going to drop off? So there's that's that thing. It's like, so which way do I go? And so that's something I'll wrestle with. I'll figure out eventually. I know there's more crossover. I see more crossover just with people that I know, and I'm talking to other model train people, and then somehow or another one of us will bring up the topic of music, and this other model train dude is also a synth guy. Who knew? There's a lot of crossover between the model train folks and photography. Because that's kind of part of the hobby, is to go out and photograph things that you might want to make a model of. So there's a lot of crossover there, but not as much between like the model trains and music, or music and photography. They're not, and I'm making generalizations because I know that there's a number of musicians who are very good photographers and vice versa, but HO scale or E flat major scale. So, Craig, since you are aware of scale, I am a bit of a rubber gauger, and I get some grief from that from some circles. But my primary at the moment is O scale narrow gauge, and specifically based on Maine 2-foot railroads that ran up into the from the late 1800s up through about the mid 1930s. That's my primary interest. So anyway, enough of that. For those of you who are on have various ways of getting in touch with me, you can either leave a comment below, or I would be interested to know your thoughts, and know the thoughts of the viewership. So anyway, you learn something new every day, right, Craig? Learn something new about folks every day. I mentioned earlier that there are some valuable books that I would be concerned about getting, that I might concerned about damaged or stolen. Theirs are specifically a couple of fairly rare books on the main railroads. And yeah, that's kind of sort of how I'm leaning, Craig, is to 3, with cross mention of each, cross promoting each one. I already handle music and photography both on my website, and although I've been neglecting the photography side of the house for quite a while, those two seem to have always done okay together on the website, which, you know, I've neglected to mention the website or any of that stuff. So I need to do some things here. I need to press that button, and then come over here and do that, and say that I need to press the right button again. I got the Stream Deck. There's a couple things I still need to streamline in the Stream Deck to get things to do some of the things they're supposed to do. So that needs to be that button. There we go. And so now, if I do those things, it says that you know, you should like and subscribe, and the web address is garenm.net. So those who know YouTube would say do different channels so you don't confuse your followers. And the algorithm, that would drive me crazy trying. Well, so that's the other thing, is how much time is it going to take to do that? And I don't know that it would take up any more time to manage 3 channels because of the way I manage this one. If I manage them all basically the same way, it's not that big a deal, I don't think, to add a second or third channel. It's just, you know, it's my fault for having multiple hobbies. Absolutely. The other thing is, you know, I could only just talk about one, you know, but I like to share things, and so that's, you know, I guess that's part of the question is, you know, do I really even need to share that stuff? I don't know. Anyway, the other thing too, Craig, is lately, like over the last couple of years especially, the other hobbies have been sadly neglected. I've been spending almost all my time and energy doing music, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I've always kind of cycled through them, but you know, all of these have been my hobbies and my interests and some level of passion for, you know, 50 years or so. You know, I've done all of them all my life, or almost all of my life. Some a few years longer than others, you know. So anyway, don't know. Anyway, let's start to wrap down. Like I said, I really only wanted to be on for about an hour tonight. We're pushing 2 hours, so I am going to make some music and for the next 5 minutes or so, and then we'll call it a night. Thanks everyone who has come by, Craig and Wabbit and Tao and Craig and Will and Eric, who was here earlier, and there was another one, and I don't want to, let's see who else was here that I missed. Soul Searching, thank you for coming and dropping in. And of course, you know, you come in here, I think this is your first visit, and yeah, Soul, and I think this is your first visit, and you get to listen to this kind of silliness. But anyway, hope you'll come back, because sometimes I'm more focused than I am tonight. Sometimes. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to make some more music, and then we'll call it a night. Thanks, guys.